2023 Auburn University Marching Band. For your halftime entertainment, we celebrate the 43-year reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Of that right now. Let's see if we've got audio once again. Maybe. Hello, mic check. Mic check, mic check, 1 2. Okay, we are back. Sorry about that. Let me try that one more time. We had a cord come unplugged, as it does sometimes. Let me welcome you once again to Auburn Family Night. This is where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. It's orange and blue. It's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to do this evening. What we have on tap for you tonight is an open mic live stream night where you get to discuss what you want to discuss with me, with us, all of those people in the chat. Everybody gets to take center stage that wants to tonight. So we'll start taking calls in just a little bit to let you guys to start having your voice. That call-in link is now available for you to take advantage of at the top of the chat right now. So we're here on a Wednesday night. Would first love to welcome you all to the show and ask that you smash that like button as you come in. It is a huge help to us as we get the show started off each week. And let us know that you're here in the chat with a hello, a war eagle, however you'd like to announce yourself. That is what we always ask for you to do to start off the show. You pick the topics, but I'll give you some things maybe to talk about tonight and to think about. There has been certainly a lot going on in just this very short half of this week, whether it's about March Madness, Sweet 16, Auburn being in Atlanta, whether it's about a brand new women's basketball coach in Larry Vickers, spring practice. It started with some changes to A-Day. I know that has got a lot of things to think about and a lot of feelings about that. That's out there as well. And just thoughts about, general spring footballs type of stuff. All of that is fair game and so much more in the Auburn experience to discuss this evening. But you pick it. You pick the topics of what we dive into this evening. I'll open up the show with giving maybe some perspectives on this one topic as you guys gather. I know a lot of you have heard the news that the A-Day game, as we know it, is, at least this year, no more. I think a lot of people have a lot of reservations, feelings about this, and a lot of them, they're around the same type of all feelings of, my college game is changing, and And listen, I'm very much having a tendency to be like that myself, but I've also found myself, and what I'd encourage you all to do is to think a little bit more critically about it and not just be about the emotions of the situation. So let me, I guess, give you some clarity about what's happened. Auburn made the announcement yesterday that instead of a A-Day game, they will have an A-Day practice session for about an hour, is what was put out there. And Coach even said in his press conference that there may be some scrimmage elements too as well. So you might get essentially what you got out of an A-Day game these days, at least just in a shorter package. You will get an autograph session, which has not been part of A-Day for quite some time, at least the last 4, I feel like it's been, maybe 5, well before COVID. That is back, and it is now free once again. Certainly, if you take things away, certain elements, limit the time you're out there, you probably need to think about not charging people anymore. And so that was a very wise decision, I think, on their part as well. On top of that, no fan day. That's what it sounds like in the press release for this, that there was not going to be a fan day in August. So a lot of changes this year when it comes to how you can get some easy, early, free access to players for autographs, things like that. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little shocked that they took away the fan day experience in August, but I understand that they're doing that now for the game. So it's kind of almost, you feel like maybe they'll eat each other up if you have 2 autograph sessions. It's not worth doing both. Either way, those are the changes are coming. Certainly we can take some thoughts, opinions about that, but I wanted to go ahead and get that out there in the front to discuss that, because I know that's something that's been very prevalent. Softball, I think, is wrapping up right now, if they're not wrapped up already. Baseball won last night in Montgomery and is off to a great start in the SEC. Big challenge this week. So we got a lot out there. Let's dive into it. Some of you are already putting some stuff out there. Kevin's already here. I see that, and he's, I think, ready to go in our call link. We'll get him in just a second. Unbeaten Lake says, I know Auburn basketball Twitter just said for everyone to wear navy to the game, but I don't agree with that. Michigan fans are going to wear the exact same color. I think you just nailed it on the head without knowing it, why they asked them to do that. Unless, there's 2 things here. My guess is Michigan already chose to wear their maize, I think is what it's called. It's not yellow. They call it maize. That would make a lot of sense to help them stand out, especially in the South and things like that. They know another Navy team is coming as well. It's like Ole Miss has got a darker blue. I don't know if they call it Navy. Michigan State certainly doesn't have the same colors. So it would make sense for them to change, go ahead and do that yellow. It could be also the strategy from Auburn. Let's blend them in together so they don't know where the fans are. Here's the reality. It doesn't matter what color Auburn wears. They know that the Auburn folks are going to be there, be loud, be proud. But certainly, obviously, it can on the surface not make so much sense until you start to kind of dissect it and think about it. Orange certainly sticks out just as it would with their maize or yellow, but it could be several little strategies going on there. And maybe they're going to ask people to wear orange on Sunday if we make it that far. All right, let's see here. Brian, good to see you. Ty, I'm not sure what this comment. A day was never great, though. And a day was. I was reading a day. A day was never great, though, and it was always compared to Alabama too much. I disagree with that. I don't think it was compared to Alabama in any way. I mean, Alabama fans probably tried to compare it and say that we're copying them or something. That's just Alabama things. I disagree that it was never great, though. If all you were wanting to get out of A-Day was the football game, and that leaves a little bit to be desired, I certainly can understand that. But to me, A-Day is more than just a game, more than just about the football. It was about the weekend. And that weekend is still there. That's the great part. And I think there will still be mostly that element of it there. This does take a little bit away of the pop of the spring games. But this is going away regardless, because this is the way college athletics seems to be heading, and there's more than just Auburn doing that. So I am disappointed. I considered A-Day, when it was done properly, done well, a very good marquee event on what was a great weekend in the Auburn experience, and I hate that it is going away. All right, let's get our first caller in, and we'll take some more comments and questions as they come about. But we'll go ahead and say hi to Kevin. What's going on, Kevin?
I'm ready to beat Michigan.
You and me both. Can you say it with me? Michigan. That's how they say it. Michigan. I've got family up in Wisconsin, and so I would bet they are rooting for us alongside because they don't want to see Michigan win. You know, they're like neighbors and all that kind of stuff. So at least across the Lake Michigan path, they're neighbors. I guess that part of Michigan comes over.
I think Miles Kelly will start off shooting those 3-pointers, making them.
It would be really nice. Certainly, he got off to a great start in his first game at Rupp in the season. Did so in his second game at Rupp in the first round game. Second game, he was really limited by fouls, if I remember correctly. So it was hard for him to get in that rhythm he typically gets into. It would be nice to see him return to form to get us going because Michigan can shoot the three really well too.
And Chad Baker,
he got back to form in that second game. So he was really, it was good to see him respond to some of the, encouragement from his like Dylan and his coaches we need you back in this form.
I saw them leave today.
You saw them. Oh, did you go to Tiger Walk?
Tiger Walk? I wish I did.
Oh, so you saw it online is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I saw the same thing as well. I thought I was about to be jealous of you and think that
I'm going to the 8-day practice.
Good. Well, you've been telling me for years that we're going to get to see each other in person. It just hasn't happened. So I'm going to hold you to it.
And I'm proud they're having Fan Day in April.
It's funny you said that because the second that I saw that they were returning to form of doing the autograph session for A-Day, I said, I know one person who's going to be very happy about that, and that was Kevin.
Yeah, I get to have autographs with Cam Coleman.
You are going to be in a line with a lot of people, my friend. So you better get in that line. Here's the problem with doing it at A-Day, and why I preferred the Fan Day method, because you could get to everybody pretty reasonably. I'd argue they only did an hour last time, but 2 hours is what you really need. It's going to be a little bit limited on time again, and those lines don't really work as well unless they do it differently this year. So good luck is what I'm saying if you're trying to get somebody specific.
I did that last August.
Yeah, and they do it differently inside there for Fan Day. I don't know how they're going to do it out there on the field. If they do it the old way, there wasn't a lot of organization to it. So
I bet they do the new way.
I hope so, but you got to think about it because the goal is that you let the fans down there pretty quickly as soon as the practice ends, the practice game, whatever. And that means they don't have a lot of time to put up stanchions and things like that. So we'll see. I don't know.
2 of the Auburn players already caught one-handed touchdowns.
Are you talking about from some of the highlights they're sharing from practice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are certainly a lot of fun to see. Now they're just practice, but we'll
made
see.
one.
Yeah. That certainly shows a lot of dexterity.
Who's number 22?
It should be Damari Alston off the top of. No, wait, Damari, did he go back to 0?
Yeah, 0.
I can't remember who 22 is then. I haven't learned all the numbers
22
yet.
is Auburn Henderson.
Oh, I thought you said you didn't know. So were you just playing me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Kevin. That's how it's going to be tonight. All right.
Hey, how about our baseball team?
Yeah, how about them getting off to 2 SEC series wins to get conference play started? I think we're all a little pleasantly surprised by that.
We're going to beat Georgia too.
I hope we can get one out of the win. Certainly, you want to go into every weekend expecting to win and planning to win, but you talk about reality. This is the number 2 overall team, and so I just wonder if we can get out of there with one win.
I'll take that win.
I believe so in one of the rankings, the one that the Auburn website. He said, "Oh my," the one that the Auburn website uses to.
How's
quantify.
Thomas doing?
Thomas Manville?
Yeah.
As far as I know, good. Maybe he'll call in tonight. I don't think I've seen him in the chat quite yet, but
see my shirt.
Auburn, your is it say Auburn Live?
Yeah.
So from the On 3 guys. That's cool.
Yeah, On 3 guys. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. What else is on your mind this evening?
Janai Broom will have 34 points. You heard it from me.
Well, that's not the most outlandish, prediction you've ever given us. I will admit that he is capable of doing that. If Janai Broom scores 34 points, we're going to do just fine in the Michigan game and anything after.
I think we go into the Final Four.
I hope so. I made my. I don't know. Did you see my prediction for?
Yeah.
Where I said that if they make it out of the region, meaning they make it to the Final Four, they're winning the national title. That was. I'm sticking to it. Feels like it's pretty good prediction at this moment,
I'm sticking to it too.
Well, I hope we end up being right, because going out on a little bit of a limb there, but it's a tough region to get through. So if they can make it through that, they'll be doing good.
Who do you think be the player of the year
For basketball?
in basketball?
I think it should be Janai. I get asked that quite a bit, and usually it's Duke fans just being trolls about Cooper Flake.
Who does Duke play in the Sweet 16?
Off the top of my head, somebody in the chat can tell us. I should know this, and I'm blanking on it right now. It'll be Alabama if they make it through.
I know Kentucky.
Arizona. Thank you. There's Devin. There it is, right there. Devin gave us the answer. Arizona. See, I forgot about Arizona.
Arizona might beat Duke.
Listen, if Duke plays like they did last game, they're a lot more susceptible than we all thought. But
yeah,
we'll see. All right, give me your score prediction for Auburn versus Michigan.
It'd be in the 80s this time.
In the 80s for both teams?
No.
Just for Auburn?
Yeah.
All right, so give me a score. Give me Auburn.
85-75.
85-75. Auburn wins over Michigan. You heard it here first. He was correct last week.
Yeah.
Maybe not the score, but you were correct that we would be here talking and celebrating Sweet 16 when you called that last week. So if Kevin says it, it must be so.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Well,
and I'll see you on April 12th then.
Looking forward to it. I'm ready for that to finally happen.
Hey, what time the A-Day practice?
I believe it starts at 12. I think it's 12. Yeah, they have the alumni game at 11.
Tiger Walk starts at 11:30.
Yes, that is correct. So, it looks like 12 later. All right, War Eagle Kevin. Good to see you. Bye. All right, that was I went to the wrong screen there. That was Kevin. And you can take advantage of our call-in link too. It's up at the top of the chat on YouTube. Do not hesitate. Do not wait. I know it's a little intimidating sometimes to have yourself be on camera. You don't have to be on. I think that's what keeps a lot of people from calling in sometimes. You don't have to be on camera. It can just be your voice. We have plenty of people to do that. So do not wait. Do not hesitate. Let's hear from you this evening. All right, we'll go back through some of your comments and questions that were coming in throughout that and see what we got going on here. We had a lot of people check in with us, got a lot of our familiar faces. Good to see, see virtually and hear from all of you. This was from Unbeaten Lake was talking about the decision to wear Navy. It does make sense when you want to hide the Michigan fans if you're thinking about that way, Navy versus Navy, but I think they're probably going to wear their maize. If I don't know that for a fact, I'm just assuming. Brent says Ohio State family members say Exagen. I don't get it. Are you just like take the Michigan and put X in it? Is that it? Maybe that's an Ohio State thing. Ty says spring games should be like a combined practice in the NFL, playing other teams, lower conferences, and wearing guardian caps for player safety. Well, look, you may have a point there, and that may be the way we eventually head. But as are so many things in college football, we're in a state of flux right now where there's a lot of change. There's a lot of pushes to do things a certain way or not do things. There's timelines that need to change, that have changed for certain, signing periods and transfer portals and when you report, how many practices you have. We are really still in a time of flux in college football. So I feel like what you're seeing this year was just them responding to a best case scenario or to what they could put together or what they wanted to start doing in the future. I truly do think after listening to Coach Freeze talk about this a little bit, that had they not had so many injuries and had they had some people show up that were supposed to show up at the quarterback position and probably some others as well, they might have actually had enough to scrimmage. So you may have a point that maybe the way we go in the future, it's certainly changing right now. Ty says also not mad with our 3-point D against the Blue Jays, mad with our closeouts. Well, that would certainly be part of the 3-point D, but I understand your point there. I think sometimes we get on certain aspects of what we view as fans, maybe something we're doing wrong when it may be something that we're giving up to compensate for something that may be a stronger asset to them normally. And they were just Creighton, as I understand, is a decent shooting 3-point team. I don't think that they normally shoot like that to begin the game. Unbeaten Lake says, I hope we make it to the Final Four. For some reason, I never bought the Final Four Midwest Champion shirt, which still makes me upset. Well, you might have the opportunity to do that by Wednesday, by Sunday. I would assume early evening, because I think those games are usually played early afternoon, late afternoon. We'll see how that works out. It may not even be a point that we need to worry about. It's not guaranteed that Auburn's going to make it. I feel like they will, but it's definitely not guaranteed right now. Let's see here. We got another caller getting ready. We'll bring him in just a second. I'm trying to see if we missed anything here. If Auburn gets into the 80s, this is from Brent, I think Auburn wins. If the game stays in the 60s, it favors, he's doing the Michigan thing. 70s, it's a toss-up. Yeah, Brent, I used to look at the score a lot more closely to determine what the outcome was going to be for Auburn. And that was before we became way more deep, way more versatile. We had very few mistakes that we could make. And Clint and I, when he did the Inside the Jungle podcast with me on this network, we used to look at a certain number. And if Auburn reached that, we felt like our chances of winning increased exponentially. If we couldn't do that, then it was not going to be a win. And we were pretty much right every time, at least about them not winning if they didn't reach that mark. I think maybe one time we ended up being wrong. I don't know if the score, if it's the 80s, 60s, 70s, signals that for me, but we'll see, obviously, if that is something that you've picked up on when they play the game. Devin says, I'm so glad my Auburn fan will be behind my BYU Cougs. I think they can beat them. It's going to be a high-scoring game. Certainly, they get to play. Alabama got to play a team that is the exact opposite of them a game ago. Now they get to play a team that's at least similar to them in some ways. We'll all have to catch our breath, I think, during that game. Certainly, the vast, if not all, of the Auburn family will be behind the BYU Cougars. Does anyone else foresee Broom either fouling out or being in foul trouble for most of the game? I think it's not just a Broom thing. I think Dylan, Chaney, I throw Jaheim in there as well. It's incumbent upon them to not get into foul trouble too much, especially Dylan and Janai. We need them in the game very, very, very often, very early, and we got to keep them out of foul trouble. Depends on how they officiate the game. This is from Devin. We could get their bigs in foul trouble too. Definitely something that can go both ways. We'll see if it does. All right, let's get our next caller in here from the Great White North. Here he is. What's up, Brian?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
War Eagle. Are we having fun yet? I think we are.
Oh, just a little bit of fun, not too much.
We're having fun. Shout out to Devin. Her Cougs are going to beat Alabama tomorrow night.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah. My boss is also a huge BYU fan, so
awesome.
There we go. So I've got all kinds of rooting interest in BYU. I wanted to talk about though, because I never want to talk about it after a game because it feels like sour grapes at that point. But do you feel like we've kind of fought the whistle all season long, especially once we got an SEC play, or is that just being a blue and orange colored glasses guy?
I don't feel like the officiating really was a point of emphasis earlier in the season. I feel like it has become that. And some of the commentators were even discussing this during the SEC tournament. And the statement they kept making is like, it's not going to be like this in the NCAA tournament. So that leads me to believe that there was at least some discrepancy later on, at least in the tournament. my way. You've heard me talk about this 1,000 times. You should
And
never
I
be in
agree
a
with you
position.
1,000 times. Yeah.
Right. But I just, I don't know. I guess it feels to me like some of the major commentators like Jay Billis are pointing it out more and more. And it's mainly because of the stoppage of play at the end of games to review everything. And there's probably a certain degree of that he's right on. But I'm also like, Jay, just shut up. Like, we get it. We get it. Like, just commentate on something else.
And I do feel like Chad put a target on his back.
Oh, yeah.
With SEC officials down the stretch. So that was part of it.
Yes.
But I just, man, I mean, like, I don't remember what game it was, but I remember Bruce started his press conference by saying, like, Janai took his first 10 shots or something in the paint and got no fouls or something like that. Yeah. It's like, how does this – and he's got 2 or 3 on him. It just feels like we're fighting the whistle a lot. And maybe that's our style of play, and which is fine. And it always feels, like I said, it feels like sour grapes to talk about after a game. But so I just more in context, more overarching 30,000 feet. Like, is there something with us and referees? I don't know. And I'm not a blame the referee guy, and you have to overcome it no matter what. Right.
No, I think if there is anything there to point out, it's not as significant. That's just my feeling on it.
Yeah.
But I do tend to think that maybe we put ourselves in those situations a little bit more than we should. And maybe it is style of play. I think it's personalities, as you pointed out as well. Put themselves in a target on their back. But there's also a point where I think the referees also have to go, look, we're calling a lot on this kid. It seems like we're overemphasizing on him. And he probably is, fishing for that a little bit, but so are people fishing for it on the other side. Let's kind of change our parameters a little bit for what we're going to actually call in this, and let the boys play a little bit. This is grown men basketball. I'm the first to admit I'm super orange and blue colored glasses,
and, so yeah. And I think maybe. Yeah, the person I feel like it really has got, I feel like Janai does not get the calls he deserves, just being blunt. And I feel like Dylan gets a lot of calls against him there. I'm like, what's he supposed to do? He's straight up and down. He's playing good defense. He's in position. I don't know.
Why do you think that is?
That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm wondering if there's something. I don't believe in conspiracies or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that. I just feel like maybe we got a little bit of a reputation in the SEC down the stretch.
Yeah. So this is from Devin wrote here. Tennessee was in the bonus with 13 minutes left in our game in the SEC tournament. That should never happen in any game for either team. I think that's when I notice more than anything the referees have affected the course of the game when we're talking about the bonus with half the half to go.
And it's like I also don't believe that like they have to call them evenly, because maybe teams aren't. Maybe one team is fouling more. Yeah. But I remember specifically the first. I guess it would have been the first 7 minutes of that second half. Devin's 100% right. Like, it's like we're getting called for everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're putting them on the line. I mean, they won that game with free throws. I mean, we shot 59% or some nonsense, but we didn't help ourselves. But yeah, it was.
You wonder with Janai, is it because we talk about Chad having the reputation and the refs are looking for him, but do you wonder if Janai is kind of build up this image of himself of being the national player of the year, for some people, that they're really kind of raising the bar for what's a foul on him, because he tends to be pretty good at making it happen even without a foul. I'm not saying it is. No, but it's something to think about.
Well, it's human beings refereeing. So yeah, I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Yeah. Like, well, gee, if we call it now, we're going to call it all night long, but but it's still a foul. So yeah. And again, I'm not sitting here. I'm never blame the referee guy. I'm with you. Like, you ever come? Probably that Tennessee game that Devin points out. It's an interesting observation to me that, like, all of a sudden, like, just feels like the last maybe third of the season we just fought that whistle so much.
Yeah, and so that's incumbent upon the players and the team to be aware of that, because if that's the case, change the narrative on it, but also have that awareness of that. Especially when you're about to go up against a Michigan team with 2 7-footers, we need you in the game, you big men. So let's. I'm not saying play soft. I'm not really necessarily play conservative. Play smart. If we know that's the tendency.
I mean, the Minnesota Golden Gophers beat Michigan this year. I'm not worried.
Listen, I hear you. I just Trey Donaldson's on that. Trey Donaldson's on that team, and that is what scares me more than anything, because we have seen him.
Oh, I know.
Do some amazing things. And
and he'll have a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. I think it's more for him is it's not even a chip on your shoulder. It's just a validation that I made the right decision.
Yeah.
In terms of because we all recognize there's animosity there with Aiden. They can all act like they're buddy and stuff as former teammates and stuff with Aiden. There's animosity there.
Yeah.
For the things that he said. But with Trey, it was just kind of I went and did my own thing and he's flourishing. So I think there's a lot of good vibes over there that certainly game time starts, you throw all that away. But I wish a lot of good for Trey personally.
Oh, I do too, and I do for Aiden as well, honestly. But I just don't want it against us. So.
Yeah, I just want Aiden to learn. Maybe you don't open your mouth as much, kid, especially when you go to the rival school.
Yeah, well, yeah, 1,000%.
So, how do you feel about the game? How do you feel about the game overall? What do you think is going to happen?
I said this really arrogantly to my pastor about 2 weeks ago. I said the only team that I'm worried about beating us in the tournament is us.
Sure.
And I still feel that way. If we go out and we play Auburn basketball and we play the way we played most of the year, we'll win. We can beat the only team that I guess my one modification of that is Florida. Florida's a really good basketball team right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like ridiculously good. I remember way back I called it one time and you said, when do you see us losing? And I'm like, Florida scares me. Yeah. I still feel that way. But really, if we play our brand of basketball, I think we'll be just fine. And I just think it's doing that.
Yeah, I think Auburn's built to overcome any obstacle that's put in their way. It's the question. The question is, will they do it?
Yeah, and they're deep enough. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to execution, but that would be Auburn beating Auburn. I mean, I think Auburn, when we lost to Tennessee in the SEC tournament, I think we beat ourselves. We shot 59% of the free throw line, and we lost by 5, right? So, I mean, did Tennessee beat us? I guess, but I think we beat ourselves more that night.
Yeah. So,
and I guess that's how I feel about the tournament here. Yeah. And it's been, I know I posted this to the Conquer Club, but it's been super cool this week that Minnesota sports radio has kind of adopted Auburn as their team because there's a golden gopher, Parker Fox, who's got a former roommate who's friends with Janai. Yeah. And it's come out that Janai's family is huge Minnesota Vikings fans.
Oh,
Janai's a huge Minnesota Vikings fan. He comes up, goes to at least one game a year, I guess. And so the play-by-play guy, Paul Allen, the voice of the Vikings, hosts a radio show every day. He had Janai on Monday. Just a great conversation. And you can just tell the kind of person Janai is. Yeah. Really just came out in that interview. It's so cool to have, your player be a superstar, but just to represent Auburn so well, be so well spoken, and it's pretty cool.
Seems like we might be able to build something towards the old Timberwolves for Janai, maybe. Get him up there.
That would be phenomenal. That'd be fun. But I don't think, who knows what he'll end up.
Yeah.
They asked him who his favorite NBA player was. He says, I like Anthony Edwards. I like the Wolves. But yeah.
He's just like, hey, man, let's throw me a
I don't know if that's really true, but yeah, it was. But no, it was. It's been kind of cool, because they're still confused as to why we say War Eagle, but whatever.
Listen, people are going to be confused, and I've just let them be confused at this point. I explained it to them one time, and I'm like, "Listen, it's a battle cry. We have one mascot, but there's kind of a secondary one from time to time. It's just we're just that good. Yeah. We got 2 mascots, man. We're just that good."
I mean, at the end of the interview, Paul Allen was like, "Hey, God bless you. Good luck. And he's like, "Thanks." And he started to say War Eagle. His producer kind of cut him off and. Paul Allen goes, I think he was going to say War Eagles. And I'm like, no, he was not going to say War Eagles. But, it's,
I always laugh when people do that, War Eagles. I'm like, no, just stop.
That just tells me you don't.
Just stop, little baby.
That just tells me you don't know anything. But
right.
Anyway,
all right,
how do you see it tomorrow night?
Yeah, I will say this. I think it's incumbent upon, as I've already said, of Janai and Dylan and I'll say Chaney to try to play smart down there, because if we get into a situation where one of them is limited from the bench early, it will happen at some point. And those 2 behemoths are still in, and one of them's Wolf, who beat us last year with, here you go, Alabama fans, Yale. That's going to become a problem. because then you're going to have to force more concentration from the guards down on them. And that's going to open up Trey Donaldson. That's going to open up all their other guards to start doing threes. And if they get on a hot streak like Creighton did, that can be a recipe for disaster. Now, the same could be said for us. We get their guys into trouble, even if there's two of them. And then when that makes them crash down on Janai, Dylan, all them. It's the same. I think we're playing, and if I remember, there's a metric that shows Auburn and Michigan very similarly placed on that metric board.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really who can exploit the same strategy the best and the quickest.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Have you found your way into this building yet?
Into the building?
What
do you mean?
Found a ticket for Friday
night? No, I have not. So
no?
I don't know if you've been here for when I've explained this. So I had a ticket for the Elite 8 and I was going to go ahead and buy it and just take the risk.
I heard that. Yep.
Yeah. And it got bought out from under me or something like that. I don't know how that happened because it was, it said you're secure for the next 5 minutes. And it was like, oh, well, let me put my code in or my card in. And it was a great price too for what it is now. Still expensive. So as of this moment, I will not be at the game.
Okay.
I have a hope that I can get my cheap self to buy an Elite 8 ticket at some point if they make it there. But I am planning at this moment to go into Atlanta on Friday to cover some of the festivities before a Tiger Walk. There's a pep rally, apparently, a little bit of a tailgate thing going on. I don't know if it's free or not, but you'll see some of that stuff from us. So if you see me in town sharing some things,
doesn't mean you're at the game.
I probably haven't gotten that lucky. It's just me trying to give you guys some extra content.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, appreciate it. Appreciate everything you do.
Appreciate it.
War Eagle. ETC for life, right?
Right. Thank you so much. All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. We got that was Brian calling in with us. Thanks so much for him for spending some time with us this evening. Heard from Brian, heard from Kevin. You guys can take advantage of the call and link just like they have. And we had two great examples of it tonight because I know sometimes being on camera is a little bit intimidating. You don't have to be on camera. You can choose to do just like Brian did. If you just put your voice out there. We'd love to hear from you this evening. Don't be shy. Some of our regulars, some of our new people. We've got a few new people in the chat tonight. So joining in the conversation is always a great time. Let me go back and look through some of your commentary. We brought a few things up that were relevant to what we were talking about with Brian, but we'll certainly look through a few of these other things here. Brent says fouls only bother me with Dill, Cheney, Miles Kelly. They seem to be unfortunate calls on good defense. Yeah, it's really weird that Miles Kelly has been the recipient of some quick fouls a lot, not just last game. I think once he got that reputation for not just being a shooting guy, but a great defense guy, he's starting to get a little bit more attention from the refs. Maybe. We don't know that, potentially. I hate that the casual fan only looks at scoring. This is from WT. What Carwell did in the Creighton game was phenomenal. It cannot be overstated. Yeah, and I try not to be super rude about this when I get commentary about somebody needs to step up. And we got something today on the TikTok live, and I was like, well, your comment here shows me that you're only focusing on offense and scoring and that you're not paying attention to the whole aspect of it. It's the easy thing to point out. It's the thing that makes you sound good around a water cooler, like you actually know what you're talking about. And I'm not trying to play this elitist game where like nobody, unless you know exactly what you're talking about, can't have an opinion. But I believe in trying to help our Auburn fan base sound a little bit more knowledgeable and not like your typical Bama fans that just spew the same garbage over and over and over and over again. So it's much more nuanced than just scoring, as WT points out. It's a big conversation about what you contribute, how you contribute, when you contribute as well to the team. Ty points out the pain that we're all feeling. It's almost as expensive as Neville tickets. Right now, it's more it depends on the game that you're looking at. And here's the crazy thing too. I forget what State Farm Arena capacity is. I'm sure it's double, at least double. There's more of those expensive tickets being sold. There's more room. It's a little frustrating that they get to throw the fees on there and stuff like that. That's just another money grab. And I wish we could all collectively get together and just say no as fans and teach them a lesson, but it's not going to happen. We all want to be there. And I would probably, for the right price, pay the fees as well. Rise says, I think we just need our fans to show up, and that's all it takes from here on out for us to win. Ooh, a little risky. I like the trust and the faith in the fan base, but I think it's a little bit deeper than that. But certainly they make a big difference. Corey, yeah, a little bit late tonight, but good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Oh, Ty, thank you for that. 18,500 to our 9,000 something, I believe. So double. There you go. My math. This is from Tahad Pettiford, truther. I think we have such a big advantage at the guard spots that it won't even matter if Wolf and is that the other guy, Golden, go off. Oh, it'll matter, especially if they get our big guys into problems. And trust me, there's been a lot of different opinions about how they think, how you or anybody else thinks it's going to go. What I've learned is how we think it's going to go is it's going to go the opposite way in this one. I am not nervous. I am not scared. But what I am concerned about is some of our fan base is getting a little bit overconfident in this game. And I fear that you're setting yourself up for a potential very disappointing night. Not to say that I think we're going to lose, but I think there needs to be a little bit of caution and pump the brakes. I think we're all looking at, I think what we're doing is what Louisville was. That's a good way to think about it. Think about how confident, how arrogant at times Louisville was with their advantage in the first round of being an hour away from the stadium. And I think the rumor was however big the stadium, Rupp Arena is, they put 15,000 fans in there for the first game and thought they could just fill it out and that was going to be it. Well, it wasn't it. Same thing could be applied to us. It could be. Now, I believe our fans are the best. I believe they make the biggest difference. I think Neville Arena is a testament to that. But this ain't Neville. Different sight lines, different comfortability. Now, we certainly do get really comfortable here. In State Farm Arena, I would just be very cautious. This feels very similar to Louisville right now. Can't take anything for granted. Let's see here. Where am I at in the chat? Devin says, I remember when Walker Kessler was here, Jay Billis said he wished there was a stat for altered shots because Kessler did a lot of that, a lot more than blocks. Doesn't count on the stat sheet, but helps our game. And I would add to what you said there tremendously. Dylan, I think, has got a lot of that in him as well. And it would make sense because he's played behind some of the best during his early years here at Auburn. Obviously, Walker Kessler, Jabari. I know he's not the same position necessarily, but he started over him. So he's seen the way to play great defense and learn from some of the best. It would make sense that he would learn how to be a factor in just not the stats that show up. Yeah, kind of like we were saying earlier, if we get the Michigan centers into some foul trouble, I think we should be fine. If it's the other way around, we're in trouble. Yeah, it's kind of, I agree with that. That's what we were talking about earlier. Let's see here. Rolling through the chat to see what we haven't talked about yet. Corey says, Sweet 16 and spring ball starting, giving me the goosebumps. Settle down now. Settle down. No, it's a very exciting time right now. You got baseball, softball, gymnastics, and equestrian are finishing up their seasons and are both in gymnastics is in NCAAs. Equestrian's about to start SECs. Track and field just wrapped up. And by the way, won third place in indoor track and field for the men. People forget that. It's been a lot of good things going on this semester for Auburn. WT says, I think some people have forgotten what happened at the Alabama game we played at Neville. They took it inside and we did not adjust. I do believe our guards are going to be the difference, though. You and a lot of people share that narrative. Michigan doesn't have a Sears or a Phylon level guard, though. Oh, don't dismiss our old Trey Donaldson now. I would say Trey Donaldson, you better watch out for that. Better watch out. Rise with a throwback. I'm still in love with Devin Cambridge. I miss him. He was a highlight reel waiting to happen. Certainly miss him as well. He found some success at his other schools. Made the tournament once with Arizona State, I think, but outside of that has it kind of not made as much noise. I kind of do wish he'd stayed here too. Brent points out last time Auburn was a 1 seed, they lost in the Sweet 16 to Ohio State. in Thompson Bowling Arena. So yes, we have to be careful. Yes, you do. We are out at the Sweet 16. I don't care what advantage you think you have. You are playing against the best 16 teams, at least those that are playing the way they are at this time, at this point in the tournament. So some of that gets thrown out the door a little bit. Yeah, can't forget about the women's tennis team or the men's tennis or all of it. It's just those are the ones that popped into my head. Corey asks, Kyle, looking at the future for the ladies basketball team, what's the potential of the new coach? Whatever you want it to be. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on women's basketball and this coach. Now, having read what the university has put out about him, what's out there previously before any Auburn shared stuff, I think the important thing to remember is when a new coach arrives in, you're going to be seeing all the good things because you're trying to show the fans that you made the right choice. And my belief is I see no reason to think that John Cohen hasn't found himself a nice pickup here in Larry Vickers. I think we just need to be cautious as fans about expecting too much too early. What I liked about, and here's where I tried to temper what is being said about the coach and what the coach is saying, temper it with that. And when I listened to his press conference, he said all the right things, showed that he did some of his homework about Auburn. That it's a good resonate when you say something about the creed. That's a big, in my book at least, in a lot of people's book, winning strategy right there. But he talked a lot about innovation, how he has changed over the years in the 20 years that he had been at Norfolk State, and what he had built them to. So to me, those are all good things that I want to hear in the future coach of that basketball program, because the reality is that basketball program probably had the more prominent credentials in that period of time than men's basketball did. Having made the final two twice or something like that. No, Final Four twice. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't have it off the top of my head. It could be a return to the Joe Champy days. We'll see, but excited for Larry Vickers and what he has the potential to do. Certainly loved Coach Johnny Harris too, and sad that she didn't get to continue on, but they're paid the big bucks to make these decisions, whether we agree with them or not. We'll have to trust them for right now. Let's see here. Rise says Trey Johnson was a fan favorite here at Auburn. He was a dog, and I actually wish we kept him. I think that was more of a Trey decision than it was an Auburn decision. That's just my feeling on it. I don't have like some fact to prove that that's true, because I think reading the room, it kind of felt like it was a shock to everybody that they couldn't keep him. I agree. I think Trey would have found himself a nice potential starting role as the starting point guard here. However, then that means this team, this dynamic, this makeup of how it's built now wouldn't be working the way it is now, and it could be potentially worse. So it's kind of one of those things. Yeah, you want him back, or you wish he hadn't left, but then that means things are changed up amongst the team as it currently stands. Let's see here. Rolling through the chat. Unbeaten Lake. I think rebounds will determine this game. We can't let them crash the boards and get the offensive rebounds. What are we always talking about? 3 things: rebounds, turnovers, and free throws. Within that rebounds is offensive rebounds. You are 100% correct. It's from WT. I think the transfer portal has really hurt the chances for Cinderella teams going forward. Their good players are going to the power conferences. This is a very popular narrative out right there. And I'm gonna push back a little bit on it, WT, and I don't know who to credit. Maybe it was Jay Billis actually that said this. And as much as I sometimes get annoyed with him just overly complaining about the refs, I want to agree. If it was him, I want to credit to him this statement. This is one data point over years. Well, only it's been a few years that the transfer portal has been around, where you can point and find this correlation. So I don't agree that this is hurting the Cinderella teams. This is one year where this has happened. And there's been other years where something like this has happened where there was not a true Cinderella team. I mean, your Cinderellas are, in most people's eyes, BYU and Arkansas. Arkansas is the true Cinderella team, which I had an Arkansas fan on TikTok today have a really hard time accepting that. I was like, you're taking the term Cinderella as a bad thing. Cinderella means that you are a lower seed, a lower half-seeded team, and you're not expected to go as far as others. That doesn't mean that you're a bad team. It just means that if you do it, that you're just having your moment and playing the best at this point of the time. So they couldn't, their little hoggy brains couldn't get around that. So I disagree a little bit with this, but let's give it some time, and certainly we can start to put together another data point, and we could probably make the statement hold a little bit more, the narrative, not the statement, hold a little bit more water. Corey says, new coach equals new house. Got to find the right crew to start the construction. Very philosophical of you. Yeah, I wonder what he's going to do in terms of building staff. My impression is probably going to be a bit of a cleaning of house. Just nothing really concrete I can or want to point out. Just some things I've noticed that I think may indicate we may have a cleaning of house of sorts. This is from Adam. Says, been an Auburn fan my entire life, and I've wanted us to win something more than wanting to see this team win the last game of the season. I have never wanted us to win something more than wanting to see us win the last game of. So you're saying win the championship? That was a long way to say. Am I understanding that correctly, Adam? That was a long way of saying you've wanted nothing more than to see us win the basketball championship for men. I think that's what I think I put that together. No mid-majors left in the tournament is what I was talking about. Yeah, and I think, yeah, what you're pointing about this year is true, but it takes more than just one year to make that narrative be true and all of that. I think I understood, and if I didn't make that clear, what you were pointing out. I was just going on the Cinderella thing about Arkansas because it popped in my head earlier today with that conversation we had on TikTok. Boy, if y'all have not come over to TikTok, you should. You'll probably get a little bit like worried about me over there. I have to be a little bit more combative over there in a way, and I hate that, but that's just the energy that's over there. A lot of days we get into kind of good groups like this where there's some good conversations and good things being tossed around and discussed back and forth, but some days it is just nothing but trolls over there. And you kind of have to give them a little bit of it back to scare them off at times. Has anyone made any decisions on leaving? Not that I know of. So there's also been a lot of Auburn fans. I think they're a little bit too focused on this right now. So you got a lot in front of you, Rise Life. So don't worry about that right now. But just to answer your question, nobody that I know. I don't think anybody in their right mind is going to announce I'm leaving in the middle of a Sweet 16 run. Maybe somebody has on another team, but I don't think anybody that's playing right now would do that. Jacob pointed out that the Cinderellas got close this year, just couldn't break through. I think it was just a coincidence they didn't break through. Here's the thing, back to what WT was saying, and that narrative that many other people are talking about out there, that NIL or the transfer portal has made it too difficult for more Cinderellas to happen. That might be true, but we need more to look at to make that be a true statement right now. It could be a coincidence that they didn't break through this year. It absolutely could be. It could, but I think the truth always lies somewhere in the middle, as much as we hate to admit that. NIL transfer portal didn't go anywhere, so we'll find out soon enough, right? Rise Life. I'm glad Katie Johnson got better over time at George Mason and glad they made it in the tourney. You're talking about NIT tourney because they didn't make it here. I wish they had. I wish he had made it into the actual tournament. 16 last game for him. Love seeing Katie do well. I celebrate our guys mostly when they leave. Now, if they leave the wrong way, Aiden, then I don't really support you. Unbeaten Lake with a comparison. Kind of Michigan reminds me of 2019. That team, maybe so. Maybe so. Michigan did have a player into the portal this week. Well, I'm assuming that was somebody who was not playing, or am I wrong on that? I would hope that wouldn't happen for Auburn at this point. Jacob says the portal window being in the middle of the tournament is a joke. Yes, some guy from the other teams entered. Okay. Yeah. It's definitely frustrating, confusing why this is allowed and why this happened. Here's what I do know. This is a body of people who are making these decisions that aren't, in all actuality, idiots. They had a reason they did this. I have to think that they saw this date. So there's a reason that we're not getting that they said, well, we have to put it here for this reason. And maybe the reason was to wake people up to this needs to change and we need help somewhere. I don't know. But certainly the body of work of how NIL transfer portal has been handled has not been good. Oh, it's Scottie Pippen's kid. Oh, there you go. I think my fave meme player is Katie Johnson. Oh, the meme game for KD while he was here, and I've seen some people make memes of him while he's been at George Mason, is outstanding. I mean, his facial expressions, his energy, his drive, all of that, just so easy to work with. So easy to work it. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize what time it is. Okay, keep your comments and questions coming. We're going to come back to those here to round out the show, but let me do this part of the show. Don't check out. Let me give you the rundown on what to expect here at E2C Network in the coming days and what you can get involved with. As I've talked about a lot, we have a lot of stuff that goes on TikTok in the middle of the day if you're interested in just joining our conversations over there. So do that if you'd like to. What do we got next for you here? Post-game shows, Auburn versus Michigan. Remember, this weekend is a little bit right now up in the air. Right now, you should plan for the Michigan post-game here to be in studio. Right now, you should plan for the potential of an Elite A game breakdown reaction show here in studio. If they make it there, that's the first of all for that Elite Eight game. If I got a ticket, things would drastically change, and I will do my best to keep you all updated. But right now, expect post-game shows right after, right here, live, break it down, win or lose. It may be the last time we get to do one of these this year. Enjoy it, folks, because you never know when that Cinderella story, whether you're a Cinderella or not, is going to end. So like I said, if Auburn makes it to the Elite Eight, we will talk about that one. Then the Auburn Experience, episode 119, is going to be at 9 o'clock, as it always is on Sunday evening. So join us if you can. We'd love for you to be there to watch the show, watch the sausage being made, or you can join into the chat while the show is going on and then participate in the Q&A at the end of the show, kind of like we're doing here, just a shorter amount of time. So that's what's all here. Links in the description here on YouTube, all over the place on social media for ways to get involved, to connect. If you want to support us, become part of the Conquer Club that's listed down there at patreon.com/E2C Network. It's a great community of folks. A lot of them you see here. We're so appreciative of them of helping support what we do here at E2C Network. They get some perks for themselves, get into our Discord. It's a great group of people, and we love having you all there. But we love everybody that comes and hangs out with us here on our shows and content and all that stuff, regardless of that. All right. What final commentary, questions, topics do you have? Anything? The last things that I see on here were a lot about Pippen. That will be something. He's probably the first of things to start happening. That Corey says, I can only imagine having to play Ole Miss again in the Elite Eight, a fourth beatdown. If we play them a fourth time, I push back a lot on people have asked me or said that they're worried about Auburn or they're scared that Auburn's going to. I'm not worried. I'm not scared. And I wouldn't be even if Ole Miss is there. But if there was a team that was going to make me nervous, it would be Ole Miss right now. Because beating someone once is difficult. Beating someone twice, pretty dang hard to do in the same season. Beating someone a third time feels nearly impossible, and we did it. Beating someone a fourth time feels unheard of. And it's probably happened more times than I'm aware of. But I don't want any piece of that necessarily if it's my choice. I'll take Tom Izzo in March. And WT knew what I was going to say. Ole Miss would scare you more than the Izzos. I don't think that there's a win for Auburn coming out of that bracket or out of that side of the region right there. Jacob said Stephen Pearl talked on one of the shows about doing portal junk after the Creighton game. Yeah, I saw that. He was not too thrilled with having to do all that, but till it changes, it's the way the world works right now. Jacob says that is a good trivia question. Has anyone ever won a game 4 times against the same team in the same season, especially a quad 1 type team? Well, quad 1 I don't think has been around that long, so you may have a limited group to look at with that. But yes, your point still stands. That would be an interesting trivia to look at. How often has a team beaten the same team 4 times in a single season? It feels unheard of, in my opinion. All right, we're going to call it there. That's a good show. That's a good night here at Auburn Family Night. We really appreciate you all being here. Please do tell your friends and family. I'd ask you to continue to do that. It helps build up our audience here. The more we grow, the more the audience grows, the more what we do here at E2C Network grows. So continue to be here. Smash the like button on our videos that we're putting out. I know some of them are replays of the podcast and things like that, but make sure you're smashing that like button, dropping a comment on there after you've watched the full video. Those are big things that can help us out and continue to grow as a little community and the best little family within here in the Auburn family. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this evening. Looking forward to talking with you about post-game Auburn and Michigan, win or lose, but hopefully we'll be celebrating us being elite. Regardless of that, it's always fun to get together with you all and discuss the Auburn experience on Auburn Family Night. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.